Game Week 30 is this weekend, and we're looking at some big midweek clashes in the Champions League before finalizing our squads. In this video, I'm going to take a look at some of these assets I'm considering as we look at who to put into our team for Game Week 30. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Femi. Let's jump into it. All right, so we have a couple things we need to sort out. Number one, we need to see how these Champions League fixtures go before moving early, because so much can happen, obviously, from an injury standpoint, or just seeing how the minutes are allocated to some of the assets that we have in our teams before we, transfer people in and out. The second thing is, until we know what the blanks and doubles are, we're not going to know really about the chip strategy. I'll obviously have a video later on that, on what my strategy could be for playing chips in the next couple weeks. Originally, this was going to be my big bench boost game week, but with Erling Haaland's form and his status, as we're going to talk about shortly, I'm not going to obviously be doing the bench boost. So that's that. What I wanted to really do in this video is talk about some really strong players, two of them in the Chelsea squad that we are all talking about, and potentially getting them in, especially if I give up Haaland in my squad. So let's just jump into what that looks like now. And I'm going to give you a little bit more about why I think it could be a good move now. So these two players we all know are João Pedro and Cole Palmer. So outside the stats, both of these players have been doing extremely well in the last couple of weeks, especially João Pedro, who's a man on fire right now. We need to look at some of the intangibles. So one of the big intangibles for Chelsea as a squad is they need Champions League football to keep doing what they're doing. This whole strategy of buying these players very cheap, signing them to long-term contracts and increasing their value, that's the bread and butter what Chelsea does. If they don't get Champions League football, they can't afford it all. And when you look at this article from ESPN FC and you see that Chelsea had more than double the next nearest losses in the last fiscal year to Lyon in world football, it makes you really, really afraid for their survival in terms of how they do their strategy if they don't get Champions League football. So that's number one. The number two aspect of this is both Cole Palmer and João Pedro are playing for a trip to the World Cup, right? João Pedro wants to be in that stacked Brazil squad. Cole Palmer wants to do the same in a stacked England squad. And with Cole Palmer, as we'll talk about a little bit later, he's really missed a lot of the season, right? So he's trying to find ways to get back into rhythm. Both these players, they're competing essentially. Let's say if Arsenal and Man City lock up the first two Champions League spots, there's only 3 spots for 4 teams in Chelsea, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and United. So that's going to, make you play your best players down the stretch, not just for the Champions League. Because I would say, for the teams remaining there, Chelsea and Liverpool, they do have a shot to win Champions League, but I don't think they're the favorites, right? There's so many more favorite teams. So the best route to get to Champions League football will be through the Premier League. And that brings us to the third point. So the third thing is Cole Palmer has essentially missed 30% of the season. He hasn't played in 11 games. And then in 3 games, he's played 35 minutes or less. So that's over 30% of the Premier League season. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking maybe his legs are fresh now. He may still have an injury, but maybe surgery can wait or whatever is going on there. We don't know the details there. But he's looked and he's played way more minutes as of late in the last 4 matches. And he looks a lot sharper. That goal he took at Villa was really well done. And that was like the Cole Palmer, the 200-point plus FPL Cole Palmer the last 2 years. So my idea is thinking of potentially, getting Haaland out, getting Cole Palmer in, getting an asset who's, has a fresher legs, playing really tired defenses in the Premier League. And, he has the ability, as we all know, to haul and get those double-digit hauls. I do like him better than Mo Salah because Salah just has not had a season of any note and memorability. And I do think that Chelsea's attack, which is, the leading team for XG, that also gives credence to potentially the Chelsea guys doing a lot better. And him and João Pedro, probably the fourth intangible, they just have a great natural chemistry, right? And so with that, why not get both of them so I get the most upside? And that could really help in terms of, rising the ranks. There's a lot of people may not go for both. So those are my reasons for thinking about Cole Palmer and João Pedro. Now let's look at another Liverpool asset that's going under the radar that I might be considering in my squad, and he's in the defense. So one of the ways I'm trying to get into the Liverpool squad is through their defense. I'm not trying to go with Salah like I just mentioned. I'm not trying to go with Virgil van Dijk. I'm going to think of going through and getting Jeremy Frimpong. So Frimpong was a highly recruited player that they got. He suffered his own injury concerns, but the main thing is Jones and Szoboszlai are not right backs, as we all know. They're midfielders trying to deputize at the right back spot, and typically, although they've played okay, you want to just get a natural player there. Frimpong has the speed, the burst, and if he starts to be healthy now, he becomes a great option as Liverpool, just like Chelsea, is chasing those Champions League spots. You need your best 11s. You need to just push through right now. And with so much competition for that spot, he can try and ideally make it his again. And I do like him because he's a little bit cheaper than Virgil van Dijk, and I also get the clean sheet upside. The only word of caution is if Alisson is out, who will not be playing in the midweek game, in the Champions League. It's been confirmed. If he's out, that obviously lowers Liverpool's clean sheet potential. So that's something to keep an eye on. But for the weekend, hopefully he'll be okay. And I can consider Frimpong in my team. Now I'm going to go to my last pair of potential differentials, and they both play for the same squad in Nottingham Forest. So for my team, I've sort of prioritized these differentials, you could say. João Pedro Palmer would be 1 and 2 to get, and then Frimpong number 3. And then 4 or 5 would be Morgan Gibbs White and Anderson. The reasons why for that is Forest I still don't trust. I mean, if you've been near the relegation bottom for a while, you probably are there for a reason. The table doesn't lie, as one of my favorite coaches always says. And ultimately, there's some huge upside, but it's risky, right? Because you just don't know how they're going to perform on a week-by-week basis, but they both have been looking quite good. There's not too much between them. I would say that Anderson, because he's a lot cheaper, he sort of fits that fifth midfielder spot, because I know most people are going to have other premiums in those spots or other midfielders. And obviously, I'm not thinking of bringing both of them in. That'd be a little bit too risky. But Morgan Gibbs White, if he can continue his goal threat, would be awesome, because we love midfielders who can score goals. He's playing higher up of the pitch than Anderson typically, and he has those abilities to get into those really dangerous positions to finish. So that's how I'm looking in terms of my differentials. Now let's do a quick review of how we did in Gameweek 29. So for Gameweek 29, we finished on 61 points. So really disappointing, because Munoz in that game, that 3-1 win over Spurs, I was really expecting big things. If he would have been able to play more than the 14 minutes, he got subbed early. Potentially that could have been a lot more, and I could have probably gotten a green arrow. But alas, we move on. I'm having a little bit of a goalie issue with Royce being out, and maybe we'll consider a transfer there. If not, I'm just going to ride with Dubravka, who had scored 2 points. Diouf with 6 points, Munoz with the 1 point, Gabriel with the 11 points. The midfield, not too many returns there. Ryan with 3, Bruno Fernandes with 8 points, Saka with 9, Rice with 3, and Semenyo, my captain, with 14. Semenyo is definitely a keep for me through, the blank game week 31. He's the one City asset that I'm definitely going to consider keeping. And then we had Haaland with 2 points and Thiago with 2 points. So, and then on the bench, Mane with 2 points, Ballard with 9 points, and Chalobah with 2 points. So the priority, as I mentioned in my last video, was to improve the midfield. And now let's take a look at how those transfers could do that when we look at the team and how it could potentially line up for Game Week 30. So here's the team and how it'd be looking for Game Week 30. So it doesn't look that bad. Royce is the big red flag, so I just put Dubravka in because I'm not going to use a goalie transfer most likely. But the defense looks strong. Ballard at home to Brighton, Gabriel at home to Everton, and then Munoz, who's been pictured back in training, at home to Leeds. So strong defensive 3 there. The midfield's fine. Semenyo away to West Ham. Fernandes at home to Villa, who's currently has my armband. Saka at home to Everton. Ryan away to Burnley, and Rice at home to Everton. And then Haaland away to West Ham, and then Thiago at home to Wolves. However, I have my 4 free transfers, and if I'm looking to play a little bit more aggressively, what I would do is the moves that I've been talking about here on the channel, taking out Haaland and Rice, I'd have to sacrifice. And then so I'd get Palmer in, and then I can put in João Pedro. Go to forwards and then put in João Pedro. So that's how the team would look there. And then I would probably just sacrifice Chalobah. I mean, he's not doing anything for my team. And then bring in Frimpong. And so, Liverpool's fixtures, I think they're just okay. When we look at their fixture run here, the 2 home games, Tottenham, of course, is struggling Spurs side, and then at home to Fulham. Fulham is always going to give you trouble, so it's not the best fixture. And then your way to Brighton isn't the easiest fixture as well. So that's the reason why I potentially wouldn't do Frimpong in. But if I want a piece of the Liverpool attack and have that clean sheet potential, especially when they're playing Spurs, who are obviously in a relegation fight almost now. It would make some sense. But then I'd have the one transfer, and then in game week 30, I'd go up to 2. And then for blank game week 31, I'd have 3 transfers going to 32, game week 32. So that's the way to play it. And, I do like this team. Now, the midfield 5, Saka, Palmer, Semenyo, Fernandez, and Ryan, where Ryan could come out, as we, look at the fixture run for Bournemouth ending soon, and Ryan could come out because he's facing at home Manchester United after Burnley and then away to Arsenal. So not necessarily the player I want to keep there. And then I could go to like an Anderson, who I also mentioned in the video. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe below. I think I'm 10 subscribers away from 300. So if you could support me to get to that number, I'd appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.